Starfield might be the biggest reason to get an Xbox this year. It's exclusive to the Xbox Series S and X consoles and a day one release on Xbox Game Pass. Some of you might be wondering if it's worth upgrading to the more expensive Series X for playing this game, or should you just get the cheaper Series S? Well, by the end of the video, you will have your answer. I also want to do a full technical review of how this game runs on both the Series S and X, how the loading times are, how the graphics compare, the resolution and rendering, and then of course the performance. When you put these consoles side by side, how do they perform? Essentially a FPS test showing when we have a solid frame rate and when there are drops. The game needs just over 100 gigabytes on console, so it's a large game. The 512 gig Series S only has 360 gigs of storage space, so this game's gonna take up 1/3 of your drive. Next up are loading times. Loading times are one of the early complaints with this game. You actually spend a lot of time loading the game, going from planet to planet, zone to zone. It just takes up a lot of time. So let's look at a few scenarios. Starting up the game from dashboard takes about 1 minute and 40 seconds on both consoles. Series X is a little faster. Now that's long for a current gen game. Almost close to 2 minutes. That's normally what you see on the Xbox One games. So really, thank God there's quick resume. That's of course much faster and will get you back in the game in 12 seconds on the Series S and 16 seconds on the X. So quick resume is actually faster on the Series S. I've seen that on a lot of games. Now comparing Starfield to other games, I've seen as low as 5 seconds with other games. So relatively Starfield's kind of slow when it comes to quick resume. One of the big complaints with this game, as I saw, is the loading, all the fast traveling. You're just jumping from planet to planet. Here I traveled to and from the same location on both consoles, and that took me 27 seconds on the Series S and 26 seconds on the Series X. Even going into different buildings, different zones on the same map brings up a loading screen. That's normally fast though. It only takes about 5 seconds on both the Series S and X. Let's now look at the graphics and resolution. On the Series S, the game is 900p native, and that gets upscaled using AMD FSR2 to 1440p. On the more powerful Series X, it's 1440p native and it does upscale to 4K. Overall, the game visually looks good on both consoles. While playing though, I could see a clear difference between the Series S and X. The more powerful Series X just looks much sharper. I mean, some of you might not notice it until I actually zoom in 4 times here, and that's really when you see the big difference. Of course, no one plays that 4x zoom, so for a lot of players the Series S is good enough if you just want to save a few $100s. And overall, the Series S is impressive running this without any bugs and issues. I think the Series X though, they could have done a little bit more. I think Microsoft just pushed and focused on the Series X a lot more here, and it really shows with this game. Now let's talk about the performance. It's really good on both consoles. Of course, it's 30 FPS and not 60. I didn't run into any bugs or issues. It's a rock solid 30 FPS on both consoles almost all the time. The only time I saw drops were in the major cities, and this happened on both consoles. I would say it's slightly worse on the Series S. I saw drops as low as 23 FPS, whereas on the Series X I saw about 25 FPS on the low end. So all of this combined, is it enough to spend more to get the Series X for Starfield? No, not with the current state of the game. Series S is just being pushed to its limits here. I think 30 FPS with 1440p upscaled is really the best you're gonna get out of this hardware. But the more powerful Series X, we really should have gotten 60 FPS on that case. They probably should have added a performance mode, perhaps 900p native, 1080p upscaled, and a 60 FPS target. And if they do add a 60 FPS on the Series X, then I would say it's worth it. But until then, Series S is just fine. Now for the rest of the video, I have some more side-by-side comparisons, and I do show the FPS counter so you get a sense of how this game runs on both consoles.
And you have settled systems quite like neon. Crazy, terrible, and never dull neon. There should be a sign, dump your Aurora here. You'd make a fortune if you put a net right under here, I'm not even kidding.
Don't move, Nesha!
What the hell's this about?
I'm just waiting for them to try and resist.
A new customer, perhaps? Well now, always happy to have a visitor. Tell me, what brings you by, friend? Little light on credits, are you? How about I save us both some time and deal with you right now? Got one.
Someone kill this scumbag!
Boot tracks. Several pairs by the look. Not too old either. Let's head down into the canyon and see if we can find more. Quiet out